Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I am BJ, with me is Gary and the very wrong Jeff, because today we are talking about
Mr. Wrong,
the 1968 movie The Green Slime, which me and Gary did not recommend. We gave negative scores to. No. Do not stop me. No. I am on the road.
Okay.
There are things I must say.
Go for it.
I am sitting here because I am the one. I keep track of our review scores, and Jeff gave this a 3, which means that, according to Jeff, The Green Slime is almost as good as The Princess Bride, which he gave a 3.5 to. It is as good as How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It is better than The Miracle on 34th Street and The Sound of Music. There are only
I don't understand the problem.
He gave a better score to, being Superman, which he gave a 4, and Rathacon, which he gave a 5.
Yes. Your point?
My point is...
The point is why? Why do you exist? Why?
As someone who greatly enjoys creature features, as the person who said, you know what, we should watch this movie. And the reason why I even knew this movie existed is because many years ago, when I was probably single digits year old, I can't remember exactly when, I saw part of this movie. And my memory of the scene in this movie that I saw when I was however many years old was much less impressive than what I watched last night. My memory made this movie so much better. So...
Yeah, I could see how a young child would see that and be, wow, that is the coolest movie ever, until you grow up and you learn so much more about
I didn't even see the whole movie. I saw like 5 minutes. I saw the scene where they're in the hallway after they set the generator trap and they have to go back in to save the doctor. That is a much more dramatic battle scene in my memory.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's just kind of one guy shoots at them and everyone else runs away.
Yeah.
This is the movie you gave 3 to, Jeff, unlike...
There just isn't enough movies, BJ, where people put on a spacesuit, go out into the vacuum of the universe, and they shoot lasers at green monsters with red eyes. There is not enough of those movies. I think movies that can achieve that level of what word am I trying to say? That level of spectacle. Artistry. Yes. Thank you, Gary.
That is
artistry.
A word. That
Gary's
is a word.
my thesaurus.
I would not use that word to describe this movie, but that is a word.
Jeff is a fan of laser battles on spaceships, which means that he must have really liked what was the last Star Wars movie? Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, Last Jedi.
He definitely would have loved that movie. What did you think of that movie, Jeff? It had a people in spacesuits doing laser battles out in space. Isn't that what you like?
Are you trying to trap me in my own logic? Is that what you guys are doing?
That's exactly what we're doing.
Am I cornered by a committee?
I am not a committee.
Probably being cross-examined now. Okay. Yes, but there is just the tone of it. But those spacesuits were just too well made. These are just plain and ordinary and very 1960s. And I think when you consider the fact that 1968 happens to also be the same year that 2001 Space Odyssey came out, I think that's one of the big reasons why people did not take to this, because this sci-fi...
You mean a movie that had a real soundtrack and was amazing?
Yes, visually amazing.
I should admit, I have actually never seen 2001.
Visually amazing and well written?
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen it, BJ, it's still going on right now. It's 3 hours of never-ending spaceships moving around. So, coming from me, who loves that kind of stuff, but I don't think you could manage it.
Long period of spaceships just moving around, aka Star Trek, the motion picture.
Yes, so we see it differently.
On this very podcast declared to be the best movie of all time, unless he changed his mind.
Nope, I haven't changed my mind. That is a hill that I have planted my flag on, and I'm defending it to the last. So, yes, we see this very differently. I see it as the ridiculousness made it into a B-movie entertainment wonder, and you guys see it as the same way people saw it in the 1960s. It's trash. It's got terrible special effects, terrible lines, a storyline that's like, what, why? And
the first half hour of the movie is Armageddon.
Yeah.
I was going to make that
I was going to say, Armageddon came right out of this movie, didn't it? Like, Bruce Willis should have been in this movie somewhere, right?
It's just the first half hour of this movie is spread out over like 2.5 hours or however long Armageddon is.
Done way better. As bad as of a statement as that is, Armageddon is way better than this. There's actual character development in that movie.
Yeah.
As opposed to this.
But they only drilled a foot into the soil. They didn't drill like down into under the surface. They're like, about 1 foot, that's good. Plant them up. So I don't know how much good 1 foot of being buried in the soil will do to an asteroid, but
they had to have time to run back it took them less time to run back the spaceship than it did to like ride their little golf carts out to where they had to drill or whatever, because the slime crawled on the bottom of their machine, so somehow that stopped the machines from starting.
I think the slime ate the batteries. At least that's what is to be implied.
I guess that makes sense.
It must have gotten into the machine somehow, because it looked like it was just covering it with its leaf-like gooey stuff. But yeah, the whole asteroid didn't make sense. I guess it's not a cold asteroid.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there must be an atmosphere
it's just
on there.
An asteroid that doesn't make sense.
There's true. Also there must be an atmosphere on there because there is fluid.
Yes,
existing.
So the fluid
on its
isn't
surface.
Frozen. Exactly.
It's neither frozen nor gaseous. It is fluid in fluid state, which I don't understand. I don't. Maybe
I don't think this movie was hard fact checked, Gary.
So the only explanation for that is that the planet must have some sort of geothermic energy of some kind. It might have a magnetic core where Jeff, it can generate heat.
Fluids don't like vacuum.
Yes, so it needed an atmosphere to exist. You're right, because you mentioned that atmosphere, right?
Yeah, it would need an atmosphere to keep it in
It doesn't have enough gravity for an atmosphere.
Yeah.
I would think if it's tiny, because it's like, 6 million tons?
Something like that. So, yeah, Jeff, I can't, unless I can very minorly, ironically appreciate the movie, but only in a very minor way. For the most part, I hated this movie. It was poorly written. For some odd reason, it bothered me so much that guy was sunburned. One of the main characters is sunburned, and it bothered me so much.
Which character? Which character's sunburned?
So there's two main male characters. For the life of me, I can't remember what their names are, and I don't care.
Jack and Vince. I only remember because I wrote it down because I'm usually pretty bad at remembering character names. So
is Jack the older guy?
Like 3 named characters in this movie.
Is Jack the older guy?
Jack is the guy with the really good hair. Vince is the guy with the lesser hair.
And Jack is the guy who is about to retire, so they send him on the suicide mission. Vince is the station commander, and Liza is the nurse who is there to be
not a nurse. She's a doctor.
Doctor, yes, excuse me.
So Jack, he who has the chin you could probably break rocks on. And Vince, the guy who has a suntan in a space station.
Well, maybe they have like a a sunroom where they have like those lights that.
They have tanning beds.
Yes, I was going to say a tanning bed. He stayed in the tanning bed too long.
And he's really addicted to it. Gotcha.
Well, how else is he supposed to get
No one else on the station has a sunburn like that. Like, I'm going to stop calling it a suntan. It is straight up a sunburn across his entire face. I'm just like, no one else has it.
I will admit, I did not notice that detail, so I was...
It bothered me, BJ. I'm sorry if it didn't bother you.
I mean, I was just amused by other things, like, why is it when they have the party that yay, we blew up the asteroid and saved the Earth, all the men are uniform, all the women pull cocktail dresses from somewhere, despite the fact they're all theoretically.
If you look at it, their cocktail dresses aren't that different from their regular uniforms, which must have, proven the fact that, what was his name? Mustang? Yeah, Mustang. Mustang must have become the leader of this particular organization, because that is the uniform of all of the women.
You thought the Star Trek female uniforms were bad. Whatever space agency exists in the green slime is like, nah, man, we'll do tiny miniskirts and boob windows.
Yes, for all the women.
The 1960s had a very particular view of the future.
Yes, that's what you wear in space, in a space station, is with that has even though it's spinning now and Jeff, I love that you pointed out the fact that this came out in the same year as 2001 Space Odyssey. Is that true, BJ?
Yeah, 1968. Yeah, fact check that, BJ.
Please fact check.
Like I said, I've not seen 2001, so I have, yes, it is. According to imdb.com, 2001 A Space Odyssey also came out in 1968.
Okay, because in 2001, A Space Odyssey, they get the physics right. You have a spinning space station, and the inside rim of that space station is for the fake gravity that you would get by spinning, right? This one has a fake space station, but it's spinning for no apparent reason because it's not for gravity purposes.
Because the windows are on the wrong side.
Yeah, the windows are on all the wrong sides. It's like, and you can't blame the fact that they didn't understand the science because it came out in the same year as 2001 Space Odyssey.
There was some oddly scientific stuff in this movie, like right before when the rockets dock, it does shoot off retro rockets, which usually don't see that detail in this level of sci-fi. So I'm like, well, they know what retro rockets are.
Yeah, and then the spacesuits aren't amazing, but then again, I look at some modern spacesuit designs, and they're not too far off the mark, if you catch my drift. Sure. The only thing is, the ones in this movie are baggy, and the ones in, the modern, space agencies use are more form-fitting and tight, because you kind of want a form-fitting and tight spacesuit as opposed to something that's bagging. Yeah, you need pressure to keep pressure on the body, because if you don't keep pressure on the body, it does bad things. That's why you don't
obviously they use all the form-fitting and tight material for the female uniforms.
Yes, but not the sealed female uniforms. Instead, just like the regular inside the station uniforms.
Now, I did not see a scene where usually in the movie posters for this, there's a girl and she's being attacked by the creature from the movie, and she's in a spacesuit. I don't think there was a scene like that. They just kind of made that up for the poster.
No, really? There's false advertisement in the green slime?
Yeah, apparently so. See, the difference is that we all have kind of the same outlook at it. The difference is that I'm excited about it, and you guys are lamenting the suffering. that it is inflicted upon you.
I
am the self-proclaimed Godzilla fan, Jeff. I admit there are bad Godzilla movies, but I unironically enjoy some of the old Godzilla movies. This movie fails, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
There has to be a certain amount of charm for even a bad movie to be enjoyable. I will admit, there are bad movies on that we have reviewed that I have enjoyed and probably what's the word I'm looking for? Probably good movies, like nominally good movies that most people think are good that I did not enjoy. So there.
Yeah. I don't disagree with your logic. I don't.
Okay.
So yeah, in my opinion, this movie had no charm, so I don't see how it charmed you.
Okay.
That was a distinct lack of charm.
So
it was just when the guys there's a person obviously in a suit walking into the medical bay and the arms are flailing and there's fireworks on the edge of him and people are just throwing beds at him because they can't use lasers anymore. And
what?
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
It hits my funny bone.
Why are the lasers making the monster bleed?
That is a question, BJ.
Because
a good question.
They can't shoot it because the blood can cause more monsters to spawn. But it's a laser. Shouldn't it cauterize the wound?
Yes, Jeff. That is a question.
It breaks the outer surface. It burns the outer surface away. So the blood coming out, that green oozy stuff, if you call it blood, is coming from the inside of the creature. So it's just that it may not have like veins or other things like that, but this creature could work very differently. But apparently you cut the surface and all of its blah comes out. It spills on the floor. Yeah.
I do have to question.
Is that a scientific term? Blah.
Yeah, it is. It is the scientific term.
I do have to question the design of these weapons. It's not... First off, how many guns are on this station that is owned by, the world government and presumably has no presence of any group other than that group on there, right? How many guns are there on this station?
They have lasers, they have gas guns, and they have net guns.
Yes.
Yeah. They carry net guns on their space station.
Readily
what other
available.
situation would they use those for?
Those net guns were right there, too. How many... what's going on this station that they need laser guns, gas guns, and net guns?
It probably used to be a frat house before it became an international space station.
Okay.
It was a group of college guys, and all their stuff was just left over that they have breaks for.
It was made in the 60s, so maybe the Cold War is still ongoing, so there's some Soviet station somewhere, some communist station where they get invaded by the red slime, I guess. I don't know.
It could be for protesters. You have nets and everything.
Protesters on the space station that is only accessible
in space.
You gotta be prepared.
This station is only accessible by the world government spaceships.
The United Nations Space Command.
Yes.
UNSC.
SC, yep. So only the UNSC seems to have this stuff. Maybe there's a whole other station that they don't show, a whole bunch of other stations that they don't show, and they're all warring against each other.
Well,
maybe,
this is Gamma 3. So
it could maybe
who
there's
knows what happened to Gamma 1 and 2.
It could be. You got a point there, BJ. I'll stand by my -1. I have to be in a particular mood to get back to that positive one, and I've been soured up. That mood has soured by Jeff's 3. I'm sorry.
My score is causing your scores to drop.
Yes, it is. It's not BJ's scores going. I mean, maybe if you had scored it as low as BJ, I would be trying and fighting for that one. But no, I can't. I just can't, Jeff. I'm sorry. It's not. There's no way. I can't score it.
So
like
besides complaining about the weaponization of the space program, what other problems do you guys have with it?
The weapons themselves were terribly designed. I didn't see any sort of aiming mechanism. And then
It looks like they have kind of like a scope on it of some kind. Not that they would ever use it.
Yeah, but
it looked kind of like that.
And they never used it.
Yeah, they never used it.
It's like everybody was firing, not even from the hip. It's more like mid-chest, which is like the absolute worst way to fire a gun. And also, they seemed to... this is like one of the first times that a laser weapon is acknowledged to run out of bullets somehow. Which, I'll grant that you can run out of energy just the same as you can run out of bullets, right?
Right.
But the immediate response of the people who have this isn't to try to reload or recharge or something else like that. No, it is instead to throw the weapon. Not use it as a club, not try to recharge it or reload it or whatever. Throw it. Use it as a projectile. And in both cases, it somehow embeds itself exactly the same way.
I was going to say, to be fair, these proved to be remarkably good projectile weapons, these blunt-nosed laser guns.
Yes, amazing accuracy on the throwing capability of these guys.
They also
Not
double
to mention
as
the
tomahawks.
penetration.
Oh yes, amazing penetration.
It buried to the stock in both cases.
Yes, it's almost like that's much more effective than just the firing it, because it seems to do more damage as a thrown weapon than as a shooting weapon.
That's true. It's melee. It must have a melee bonus of some kind.
Yeah.
This seems like
bonus.
Borderlands, where your gun, you like throw your gun at the end and it somehow explodes. Does terrible damage.
The effectiveness of the lasers also seems to vary wildly, because like the first time they fight them, they shoot that slime like 15 times to no effect, but I guess it's like the inverse ninja law, right? The more slimes there are, the weaker they are individually.
I guess.
Well, there's more to kill, right? So then you can have more action scenes where they get pulverized. If you only have one,
because that first slime, like I said, it gets shot a lot and doesn't do anything. But later on, as they're having running gun battles with the slimes, they shoot the slimes once. They're like, actually, like I said in the review, there's like a single slime sound. And it's the same sound over and over and over and over and over again. Every time there's a slime on screen, every time there's a slime in the scene, it's the same 3-second audio loop.
So
moving on, unless you guys have something else to say.
Actually, there's one thing I want to ask, because
okay,
I didn't know if like the DVD copy I had just had like a bad transfer, but was there like a lack of sound effects in scenes where it seems like there should have been sound effects happening, in your guys' opinion? Did anyone else notice that?
I couldn't tell you to save my life. I was just awestruck by how bad all of this was.
Gary's too angry to be paying that kind of attention.
I mean, I was awestruck by how bad it was, and at times it had charm, right, BJ? At times it had that charm of a movie that is bad, to where I can kind of understand Jeff's opinion on this. There's moments in there that it just...
I hardly got any charm. Like
there's like ironic enjoyment out of it that
I enjoy bad movies, but I need my bad movie to have a certain level of effort. The effort of, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gary.
I appreciate like this classic hero coming out and he's like a no nonsense, take charge kind of person, and he brooks no like he doesn't suffer any fools, and that's why this one person who would be his friend, he like kind of just keeps shutting him down because he occasionally makes mistakes, but the friend sticks with him because, you know, he's a cool dude and all that. And it's just like, and he doesn't really change. That's where it starts to fall flat. He doesn't end up having any sort of character growth.
Well, they never really say what happened, so he can't redeem himself from this vague thing that happened between them in the past where Vince sacrificed 10 men to save one guy and that makes him softer, blah, 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 or whatever. It's like, okay, what was the situation? What's the context? What's the context?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they don't ever explain it, which fits into the B-movie category well, I think, in that you have these plot backgrounds that make the audience have more questions than answers, by far. Yeah.
It's just...
But the difference is philosophy. Go ahead, Gary. Go ahead.
No, you're right. You're right. There's a difference in philosophy where the other guy is willing to try new things, and the main character just kind of wants to play it by the book, and yet you're in this situation that's outside the normal, and yeah.
Yeah, so they have a different philosophy where Commander Jack, who's the main character with the really good hair, that guy always wants to he believes that leadership is about making the hard choices, whereas Vince has got a lot more heart in him. He's more passionate. He wants to go for the ultimate goal, which is to save everybody. So he takes risks that Commander Jack thinks are a bad decision, and as such, he thinks that Commander Vince is, or Commander Elliot is his last name, is that he is reckless and that he causes more suffering because he puts people in danger to try and save somebody or to do something that is just too risky. So you have, it's this whole dichotomy of, do you take greater chances to get the better goal, or do you just play it safer? And these two commanders are in odds with each other about that. And as such, the hero in the movie tells you who the right person is. It doesn't give you that option. So Commander Jack is portrayed as the one who's really smart and knows what's going on, and he has the best opinion.
And then there's this woman who's supposed to be between them, but it never comes up.
I know, and they have a love triangle. What movie?
It's not. It's
a love
like
triangle's always needed in a movie, right?
It's more like she wants both of them, and it's very convenient for her at the end that one of them is dead. Because otherwise, it would be very awkward when they get back to Earth, because she's giving signals the entire time where she wants both of them. But
unless one of them turns out to be her brother, like in Star Wars, then it works out. I mean, you gotta throw in something like that. Okay.
It should be noted that Jeff's little headcanon about, there's a difference between command philosophies. Jeff's little 10 seconds of a headcanon there is more context than the entire movie gives their relationship.
Yes. There's more. I mean,
I am expanding it into more detail. I admit it.
Maybe BJ, they're of the opinion of, show don't tell, and they forgot the show part, and they forgot the tell part too.
The straw that breaks the camel's back between the two is both of them are like, yes, we need to evacuate the station, but they blow up to say, no, I'm not going to blow up my command. It's like, why? Your command's infested with sometimes invulnerable alien creatures.
Alien things.
Which
I'm surprised that they
alien
launched
things
it.
That their big plan to contain was to lower him into a closet and close the door.
Yes, and also, BJ, remember, they've seen an explosion, a very large explosion. Instead of killing all of them, it only killed a few of them, and then the rest were still alive to infest the rest of the station, right? These creatures that are able to survive in outer space.
The vacuum of space.
Their great plan to kill all of them is to ram that space station into the atmosphere of Earth.
Yeah, that did seem like a really bad plan to me, too.
Yeah.
They are very much survivors. You're going to run into the planet.
One cell survives to make landfall on Earth, and humanity is screwed. And you can launch the space station anywhere, BJ. And you launch it at Earth.
Well,
maybe there's this giant ball of fire in the center of our solar system that if only there was a giant ball of fire that it was in the center of our solar system that you could launch the space station into.
I was going to say, it would have been a really long movie if they launched the space station into the sun, because then they'd have to track it the whole time.
No, you wouldn't, because the aliens can't manage our technology apart from tearing it apart.
I think that's normally I enjoy bad models, but I think that's the thing that made me say, okay, now that's just dumb, is when they showed all the little aliens on the outside of the station by having the space station model they had before, but like sticking like little pieces of gum, like, oh, look, it's the aliens. And then they have this close-in shot where they have like little aliens picking up over the side, like, look, we're moving them around. Ah, it's like, oh.
Mine was when they had people like spinning, like two tiny little model people spinning in front of a spaceship.
That was so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and
well, go ahead.
Well, I don't say, and like I said in my review, it doesn't help that your big bad alien menace, the first time you see it, it's on its side, like flailing for some reason. Why is the alien knocked over the first time we see it? Did someone knock it over? Did like fall over? That's why they found it. It's like, I've fallen and I can't get up, but I'm gonna kill you all. Ah.
I mean, I understand the one scientist who was like, just hit it with a gas gun and dead it, and you'll be fine.
Just tie it up, we'll be good.
At that point, it looked very small, stupid, and harmless.
Well, and I can understand his point of view, because you're finding a creature, you want to learn about it, you don't just want to kill it on sight. So I can understand why he wanted to capture it and learn something from it. They're about to blow up the asteroid. I mean, couldn't they preserve a specimen for their lab? The problem is that you don't really understand things that could be much older than life on Earth. Something that could have been evolving for a very long time. And so it's this dichotomy of you have a need to learn, but then you're learning about things that you don't know the danger of them. So there's every time you try to study something, there's always a risk if you're studying the unknown. A risk that you might cause major problems or have something come after you like this.
I know Jeff's been dying to insert some sort of philosophy in this conversation. I was curious what he was going to pull out of his hat.
Yeah. But there is a real scientific theory, real one, okay?
About green
slime? Not a make-believe one. About green slime. About life surviving on asteroids through trips on space.
Is that
it's very...
Pangiospermia or something like that.
Yes, and it's obviously not proven, but when they look at asteroids, they're hoping to find some evidence of this. That's one of the things, or one of the goals to look for. Is it possible that inside of an asteroid that there could be microbes that could survive in some sort of enclosed environment, which is kind of a stretch. It's a stretch. I mean, there's a lot of questions to that. But when I saw the asteroid in this, that's what hit me. The first thing is that it seems like it was an asteroid. This is me being theoretical, of course. The movie doesn't say, but it seems like this asteroid was built for a purpose, or was created for a purpose, to travel through the universe and spread this species onto other planets. Because it seems to go to Earth. It's heading right for Earth. No explanation as to why. Is that completely random? Or perhaps could that be intentional?
Accelerates.
Yeah, it accelerates, which means that it has mobility.
How does it do that, Jeff?
Exactly.
How? That's my question, is how?
The only explanation is that the asteroid itself has some sort of mechanism built into it. Some sort of unknown propulsion system, which there's a lot of explanations. It could be warping space. Is it traveling slower, or is the universe, space itself, being curved differently that makes it go faster, according to our position on Earth?
I believe Gary wanted less a scientific possibility and more who is hitting the gas and stepping on the brake.
It's probably an old bearded gnome in the middle of the asteroid pulling levers.
Look at me.
Okay, Jeff. And
it's
yet,
on his seventh. He's rewatching Lost over and over again for all of eternity, and attacking planets is the only way.
I'm going to pause for one quick second just to explain the fact that the "Don't look at me" is a long-standing inside joke from our Dungeons and Dragons day. Carry on.
Yes.
So Jeff, and yet you state you've got this nice, long, well thought out statement about the scientific possibilities of this particular event, right? Or of this particular asteroid and what it could possibly be and mean. And yet you say that 2001 Space Odyssey is a terrible movie.
Well, no, it's a great movie. Well, okay.
Are you going to say that's a good movie, but not necessarily entertaining? Much like your self-proclaimed greatest movie of all time, Star Trek: The Motion Picture? Is that what you were going to say, Jeff? Is that what you were going to imply?
Someone else is talking.
I don't know.
It is hard. Some things are hard to categorize. They're a little bit this, a little bit that. It's a little bit brilliant, a little bit awful. It's a little bit scientifically whackers. It's a little bit scientifically interesting. There's such a mix of polar opposites together. It's almost like we're combining matter and antimatter, watching the explosion and wondering what happened. Or whatever. I don't know.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And this is a phenomenon not necessarily restricted to this movie, but why is it that when people have guns or some other form of weapon which allows them to attack at long range, they are fighting something which is limited to hand weapons or hand-to-hand combat itself, why do the people with guns always charge towards the things which have to get close to them to hurt them?
Yeah, they just charge right into melee range and then use their long-range weapon to attack their target.
I don't... You see, BJ...
There's a commissar in the tank, and he wants him to drive the tank closer so that they can hit him So
with his sword, yes. No, but
like I said, it's not limited to this movie. It is a long-standing phenomenon, I believe.
It's a stupid trope done by Hollywood. They've always done it. They will always do it. They cannot portray these guys they cannot portray the use of modern weapon systems the way that they're supposed to be portrayed, right? Because there's no excitement in shooting something, from a safe distance, right? Those four or five dudes, if the laser guns had any sort of effectiveness, they should have been able to just basically own that entire station. It should have been like, oh, we're going to sit here 100 feet away from these guys, just kind of sitting there in space, because you can do that, get yourself relatively motionless to the guys, just kind of sitting there, taking pot shots, blowing the head off of each of these stupid little green slime monsters and letting them, that is if the laser guns are effective. If not, then maybe you need to gather all the laser guns together and just start chucking them at the at the green slime monsters, because that seems to work way better.
I cannot remember Gary ever being this vitriolic about a movie. Like even on Cabaret, he tried to play the devil's advocate, but something about this movie just made you extremely angry.
It's maybe because they kind of got close to some things, but they didn't. And then it boggles my mind when Jeff mentioned the fact that 2001 Space Odyssey, a movie near and dear to my heart, which got science so right. It predicted so many things so very well. And this movie comes out in the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why this movie was made is because 2001 Space Odyssey hadn't yet been released. So when they were making this movie, they were thinking, hey, I've seen science movies from 10 years ago. This looks pretty good. And this, to me, it feels like, and I'm just supposing here, of course, I freely admit that, I feel like they had watched sci-fi movies in the past and they thought, let's make an epic story. Let's have great miniatures, great monsters. Let's have lots of monsters. Let's have laser battles. Let's have characters who struggle to get along and they have a history that they can't get over, and it's part of their conflict between each other, and there's drama that way. And there's a love triangle. Well, does she love him or that? Does she even know who she loves? And all of that. So when they were making this movie, a lot of these ideas probably sounded really good, but this is one of the problems with entertainment, is that it's a moving target. It gets perpetually better, and new movies like 2001 come out, and it just blows the industry apart. And now you've got a whole new standard of special effects and attention to detail, and even incorporating real ideas with your fantasy ideas, like adding in real science. Anyway, yep, go ahead.
Jeff, if I may destroy your headcanon with facts.
Okay.
As I mentioned in my review, this movie is in fact a ripoff of a series of made-for-TV sci-fi, Italian made-for-TV sci-fi movies.
Well, explain that, because I actually don't know about that.
So, according to Wikipedia, quote, the storyline for The Green Slime originated in Italy, where MGM also had dealing. Years before The Green Slime went into production, MGM had contracted Italian filmmaker Antonio Margheriti, probably said that totally wrong, I apologize, to direct what was intended to be a series of 4 television movies about the adventures of a space station called Gamma 1. Margheriti's film series consisted of Wild Wild Planet, War of the Planets, War Between the Planets, and Snow Devils, all created over a period of 3 months and released in 1965.
Okay, but they were building up to a movie. That's not unheard of. But yeah, so
Jeff,
it wasn't completely...
There was a made-for-TV Italian sci-fi series that they're like, you know what if we rip this off and make this movie and release it? We'll make it in Japan and have it star Western actors who happen to be living in... Why did they make it in Japan? It's an MGM movie.
Cheap.
Why did they make it in Japan?
It was cheap, maybe? I don't know.
That's where their special effects people were. But yeah, I noticed the guy who plays Vince, he's in a lot of other movies that are Japanese movies too. Where he's in a lot of other films as well. And I know the girl in it, she's an Italian actress. So it has a very international crew. And yet it was filmed in Japan, and the director's Japanese too.
Yes, the crew is Japanese, while the crew being the film crew, whereas the actors were all Westerners who happen to be living in Japan. The actor you're talking about is Richard Jackal?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
And
yeah, Jackal.
I am looking at all the stuff I don't think The Green Slime was his best role.
So he's in other stuff. He seems familiar. I think I've seen him in...
He was in The Dirty Dozen.
Oh.
He was in...
Oh yeah, he's the guy...
He's in
he's the military police in The Dirty Dozen.
The MP. The Sands of Iwo Jima, 310 to Yuma, among other things. I'm just mentioning the movies I have heard of. He is in quite a few episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents and such TV shows. And who is the other guy? Robert Horton. I feel like I've seen him in a bunch of places too.
Yeah, I've never seen him before though, but he seems like, yeah, a chin like that you would remember, right?
He's also in a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock TV episodes. And okay, maybe I hadn't seen him anywhere because I'm not recognizing any of these things outside of like the Alfred Hitchcock stuff. And his last credit on Wikipedia at least was the episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Wow.
Murder, She Wrote. So, I don't know. I thought he seemed more recognizable than the other guy, but apparently I was wrong. The other guy had a way bigger filmography.
Maybe, he didn't feel like he needed to compensate because his chin was big enough. The other guy felt he needed to compensate.
You guys are very down on this man's chin.
It's huge, BJ.
He has no control over the size of his chin.
But if he gets a career because of a good chin, you can't hold that against him. Some people just have really good chins.
Anyways. God.
Anyway, so what do we talk about now?
I don't know. You're the one who likes this one, Jeff. You find a subject because I just can't even anymore with this movie.
Gary's anger is spent.
Yes.
I
only give it a -1, but I feel like
you've left the
I feel like if you had known Jeff was going to give it a 3, that I feel like he would have given it a harsher score if you had known that someone was going to try to defend it.
And I try to judge things in a vacuum, and I'm really trying to get back to that headspace. But Jeff blew my mind by mentioning that this came out in the same year as 2001: Space Odyssey. And I'm having a really hard time getting back to, judging this without having that knowledge.
Okay,
and
let me give you guys a...
I can't.
How about a hypothetical question?
Go back to last night to where I was like, oh, this is an okay movie. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's like trying to... Isn't there a movie called like Ice Pirates or something like that came out in the same year that Star Wars A New Hope did?
I was trying to remember the name of that movie. I know Jeff made us watch it once. Jeff, do you remember
Pirates? Is it Ice Pirates?
It's about the short people who go through time.
No. It's I think it must have come out after Star Wars because it is far too Star Warsy to be Star Warsy on accident. It's the one where the lady gets frozen in ice, and then when she gets de-thawed, she's wearing less clothes than what she than what she would.
She has a costume change in the ice.
That's you're right. No, this is
Ice Pirates
Star is 1984.
Crush. Star Crash.
Yeah, Star Crash.
Star Crash.
Star Crash.
That's it.
Is it Crash or Crash? Okay, Star Crash.
Star Crash.
Versus Star Wars. Star Crash. Even the name denotes its B qualityness.
Star Crash came out in
1978.
Is that the same year New Hope came out?
New Hope was 77? Yeah, 1977. But the production was 1976.
Okay, so Star Crash was definitely a cash grab on Star Wars then.
Yes. So I'm like, so if you watched Star Crash in a vacuum, right, you'd be like, okay, this is just kind of a hokey movie. But if you knew that it came out about the same time as Star Wars did, you'd be like, no, this is a terrible movie. And you could not wrap your head around it. It would take you like weeks of just kind of trying to put both of that out of your head to try to get back to it.
Yeah.
Star Wars makes
every other movie look worse.
Movie now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with this movie now.
Hypothetical question.
Okay.
If this movie came out 10 years prior, so you take the clock back to 1958 and released it then, what would you say about the movie?
See, that's a sad thing, is this movie looks like it was released in 1958.
I was going to say,
in fact, it actually looks like it was released up to the mid-1960s, right?
I was going to say, I would still compare it rather poorly because when I was watching this, I was like, I feel like the special effects are maybe maybe on par, if not a little worse in some situations than what's it? Forbidden Planet, which is a movie that we watched before Gary came on board. And Forbidden Planet came out in, what was it, 56?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, so it's over 10 years prior to this. Yep.
We got, when looking at, 1956 was when the Forbidden Planet got released. So we got the creature from the id 12 years before the green slime creatures. And the creature from the id is so much better.
I agree. One thing though is that it's important. A lot of filmmakers know not to show your monster too much or to show too much of your creature. And in this movie, there's shots where they just show the whole thing with its two little legs walking. And honestly, it looks a little adorable. I think with the two little legs, the giant eye, and all the tentacles, there's a little bit of cutesiness to this creature, which totally throws the psyche through a loop.
And there's actually a moment in there in the early portions of the movie where they don't show the creature. And if they'd done more of that, it's like if they'd done more of the Armageddon plot, like, okay, we've got 10 hours to destroy this asteroid. And if they'd like fleshed that out, that would have made an okay movie. If they would have done more time of not showing the monster, and it's like they find out that they could have like shown the monster a lot less throughout the movie, and maybe like they catch the blood and the scientist does these experiments, so they decide to shut off all the lights, and that way when all the lights are off you can barely see it. It's hidden in the shadows and you never see the monster. Maybe it would have been a little bit better, but
if they had if they had transitioned from Armageddon into Alien, it would have been a better movie.
So the first part is Armageddon, last part is Alien.
Last part is Alien. If they had done that, then it would have made a really good movie. But they didn't. Well, they did do that, but they did it very badly.
Instead, they transitioned from Armageddon to Power Rangers.
Yes. Oh gosh, it's so. And the helmets of these people, the helmets that do absolutely nothing.
Why is there like an extra long strap? Like, it's not even like a neck strap, because the helmet's like strapped to Jack's head and he's still playing with this little flap hanging off his helmet. Why is that there?
Oh, BJ, and also it never messes up his hair, by the way. That helmet never messes his hair up.
Well, that's his future
His
technology.
hair is invulnerable. There's nothing that could destroy that hair.
His chin.
That hair should have been the weapon they
hair.
used against the aliens. Was
the
his
hair and his chin. Like he should have headbutted the aliens, and we would have seen like them all explode. Like 5 of them explode from him headbutting one. That might have happened. Who knows? But anyways, and he didn't even have the decency of having the hero's death in this. Like, he could have just like the friend could have been like, oh my gosh, he's he went back and there's nothing we can do, and they just leave him, and he like,
yeah, it would have been a good character arc.
He would have calmly like crashed the station into whatever. Or what, he would have.
He would have had his Bruce Willis moment.
Yeah, he would have had his Bruce Willis moment. He could have heroically and stoically, sacrificed his life to save the rest of humanity. But instead, he's the one who lives, and the other the other guy's the one who dies. And it just
Vince had
he was
to
a
stop
harsh
throwing
guy,
his
but he was misunderstood.
And go back to station to sacrifice himself for this guy he nominally didn't like for reasons. Yeah. Did they like each other? Did they not like each other?
They were friends. They did like each other. They were good friends, but they were kind of like frenemies, kind of a friend.
Just BJ,
well, then they're not really good friends, are they? They're frenemies.
They have strong professional and personal dislikes, but they'd still fight green monsters and try to save each other. So BJ, they have a common bond.
He's kind of
actively trying to steal this other man's fiancée.
I know,
BJ,
but deep down,
he's his friend, heroes. The same way that we are friends with Jeff right now.
Harsh. Harsh.
It's like, fine, I'll go back to the station and I'll get him. I gotta go.
No, I'm joking about that. No, I'm joking.
Especially harsh considering the fact the guy was like, he should just left him to die. Well, yeah, we're friends like that.
So I get, I don't get this, Jeff. I just don't get it. I don't get
well, we're never always going to agree. In fact, the odds are we will probably disagree on many things. But that
as by and large, we have agreed pretty handily on almost every movie since we started reviewing things.
Yeah, it's just our disagreements tend to be more prominent. But as the Vulcans say, the uniqueness of many things is what makes the universe. Oh, I messed up that quote again. I even read it again.
Dang it.
Dang it. The universe is full of different things, and that's good somehow.
Why don't you get it printed and put it above your computer so that you can just read it next time?
Yeah, I'll actually quote it directly from Spock. Exactly.
Because one of his kids will come by and tear it down before that happens.
They do. They destroy everything. They're more destructive than the green slime monsters. They just go through and kids are like that. They're like the green slime monsters. They go through and afterwards you're like, what happened to this room? It's destroyed. All the beds are turned over.
I like the fact that, as they're starting to unveil the green slime, we're getting some electrical interference. Send someone go to crawl down to not Jeffrey's tube or whatever to find what's going on. And it's like the electrical interference is the entire electrical main was torn out. Like, oh yes, that would cause interference, I suppose.
Yeah, and this thing, so apparently is damaged by fire, but it's not damaged by the electricity, like full on. It's full on contacting main bus bars.
Well,
I could tell you that how
feeds on
that is.
Energy, which apparently
is not fire,
which apparently encompasses pretty much anything, because it feeds on electricity, it feeds on flashlights. Like, if they lure the creatures around by shining lights on them, it's like, oh, they're feeding off their energy they're feeding off the photons.
If it doesn't like kinetic energy, you smash it with a hammer or with a throwing gun, you've got it down.
If you throw a gun at it.
The motion energy, inertia, it hates that kind of energy.
It eats light energy, but apparently not lasers.
Yes. Yeah. And it doesn't eat fire, but it does eat electrical arcing. Like, it doesn't like explosions, but it does like arc blasts.
I know, it can bite into an electrical main, but it doesn't like fire.
Yeah, that doesn't...
And an explosion could destroy it, yet it can live in the vacuum of space.
Yes.
So don't give it too much pressure from an explosion, but no pressure whatsoever, it's okay with.
Yeah.
Like when it's on the outside of the station, they're feeding off the power of the sun. It's like, if that's the case, why is this like in this little goo form on the asteroid and not like the big monsters?
I also liked how that
giant... my arms around like we're in the same room and you guys could see that, not miles apart.
I also liked how that big explosion happened on the station. Like a quarter of it got vaporized and is all burnt. And yet the explosion happened right next to where all the characters were. And then we cut back to the scene and they seem to be fine. It's like, like from the model, from the outside looking at the station, it looks like everything was just blown up right next, like the very next room to where they were.
Yeah, Jeff, you say the word like, and I don't think that means the same thing that I think that means.
That word, I do not think.
I do not think
you think it means what it means.
Yeah. So I'll stand by my -1, but oh gosh.
I feel like me and Gary should like flip scores around because the vitriol Gary is pouring out here is way stronger than the -1.
I mean, after the conversation,
there's some
know our scores better.
So in its positive, like you were saying, there was BJ, there was some like nods to actual science, right? As hokey as those models were, they had the nod to the concept of retro rockets. The docking situation was actually kind of well thought out, where it comes in, it docks, it's even got a little docking clamp. I thought the nose of the rocket looked kind of stupid until I saw the docking clamp, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then it moves it to the side so they can move the other ship up. And I thought, that's actually kind of clever. And other kind of stuff like that. It just like, there's nods to intelligence there. The fact that their spacesuits actually kind of look like, if that was airproof material, the baggy suit that they had, or not the vaguely baggy suit that they had, if that was airtight material, then this might actually be a functional spacesuit. Maybe, kind of, sort of, if you squinted. There's a few other things like that. I don't get the wild dance party, but then again, you did just save the world, so sure, why not?
Oh, and speaking of which, I forget it was right before or right after that part, they cut back to Space Command on Earth and they're like, well, I guess we better send something to the press to explain the fireworks show. It's like, dude, the Earth was like 10 minutes away from getting destroyed and you hadn't told anybody?
That is a...
It was an awkward conversation they didn't want to have.
It's going to be just kind of... Oh, by the way, headline, we blew up an asteroid that was about to smash into the Earth, but don't worry, we
took care of it.
We totally blew it up with like 5-10 minutes to spare, nothing to worry about.
No real repercussion, not even serious damage to the ship that did it.
The UN network.
We used 3 hyper nukes to do it. Don't worry, we're all fine. They're fine. We're all fine. How are you?
We're fine here. How are you?
We're fine here. How are you? I'm just... Awkward conversation anyways. Gosh. So...
We are
That's about it on what I've got.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we are closing in on we are almost within 20 minutes of the time limit of not letting the episode go as long as the movie.
And I vote we cut it off here.
Burn it, BJ. Burn it with fire before it can get any worse.
I mean, if you go off the Japanese version, the Japanese version's apparently like 13 minutes shorter, so we can go off that.
Yes, BJ, let's do that.
Yes. Okay, it is tradition, so... Final thoughts?
I'm willing to take I can't talk today, but I'm willing to take the hit to my reputation over this movie. It was fun, but definitely all the negative things that you guys said are all very valid. We just, B movies are a very, very particular taste. It's strange because there's some movies that are terrible and some people can withstand them and laugh at them, and some people just cannot withstand that level of awfulness. So it is what it is.
Can't even say a snarky line from the movie because the movie's not even quotably bad. It's just I can't think of a single line that stood out. No.
I would. So I'm going to have to...
there's no, we had to stop drilling through rock because we hit something solid.
The dialogue was just dialogue. Like, it was all just whatever people say. There wasn't really nothing at all noteworthy of any of it.
Commander so-and-so, please come to engineering bay. We need someone to tie the chief engineer's shoe. Just, they can't do anything without the station chief there to do something. That man got his 10,000 steps in a day.
He did.
All day, every day.
And 3 days before retirement.
3 days.
At least the movie didn't kill him.
3 days before the other character's retirement. The guy who was going to retire lived.
Presumably to retirement.
Yes.
Yep, he can now sit in a giant house with lots of cats. And that'll be the end. With his nice haircut that will never degrade.
And chin.
Ever. Yep, and chin.
Yes, his chin and his haircut will live on forever.
Yeah, and he'll be brought out of retirement to deal with something, and he will talk about how he's too old for this.
Yep, on Gamma 4 in the sequel.
Gamma 4.
Babylon 5.
On the sequel. That's it. I don't have anything else for this movie.
Gary's like, we're stopping now.
We're stopping now. Kill it with fire.
Do not pass go. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah.
Strong feelings about the green slime on this episode. Yes. I'm BJ. With me was Jeff, Gary, and Commander Jack's chin and hairdo. We'll see you next time for whatever it is we talk about. Bye.